listening to the East Texas Banner right here at easttexasbanner.com. Got the privilege today of sitting down with Jamie Gunter. He is a man of many hats, and wanted to really, I appreciate you for taking time to sit down, but I really wanted to talk to you a little bit about the hospital district board election that's coming up.
Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit about kind of what's going on with the hospital board or with the hospital district, and then we'll kind of go from there.
So let me start in the beginning, I guess.
Okay.
But I'll be brief, or I'll try to be brief. So a lot of people always ask us, where is the district? What are the boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
The Jasper Hospital District was established in 1963 by a vote of the people. At the time, the district boundaries were defined as Commissioner Precincts 1 and 2 as they set in 1963. Those boundaries change potentially every 10 years when a new census is performed and redistricting occurs. The county goes through redistricting just like the state government and federal government does. So those boundaries have changed over time with population shifts.
Okay.
So the boundaries, although they were established in 1963, consistent with the Commissioner Precinct boundaries of 1963, those boundaries have changed significantly since 1963.
Sure.
So it's not the precinct boundaries of today, it's the precinct boundaries of 1963. So in a nutshell, to the west county line, to the north the county line, to the east the county line, the southern boundary is the variable. And it's basically from Zion Hill, east and west, north.
Okay.
So it's a smaller district
Sure.
than what Precinct 1 and Precinct 2 is now. And it also encompasses a little bit of current Precinct 3.
Okay.
Because currently Precinct 3 comes up through the woods and goes out 190 east to the county line and takes in a little bit of Holly Springs.
Gotcha.
So that gets a little confusing, but that's what our enabling legislation says. It's what we have to follow. So the district consists of 9 directors, and they serve 4-year terms.
Okay.
And by our enabling statute states that we will alternate the election of the directors. So every 2 years we elect 4, and then the next 2 years we elect 5. So they're all at-large positions. There's no districts within the district. Everybody's elected on an at-large position, and that's who gets elected to the board. So this year, 2026, there's 4 director positions that are open.
Okay.
Mine, Deborah Harris, Ron McMurray, and Sam Jobe. Dr. McMurray passed away earlier this year, unfortunately. He was really an asset to this board. Sam Jobe has had some health issues, so Sam's elected not to run again.
Okay.
So the only 2 incumbents that are up for re-election is Deborah Harris and myself. So we have both filed to be re-elected. There are 8 additional people that have filed to fill those 4 positions. I think this is the first time in the history of
Sure.
hospital district elect. Right. Normally, you can't come up with enough people to even fill the openings.
Make a quorum. Right?
Exactly. So now there's 10 people running this year.
Sure.
And I applaud all 10 for stepping up and saying, I want to do this.
No doubt.
Public service is something everybody should experience at least once in their life.
That's right.
I was elected in 2022, and I didn't know what I was doing. Dr. McMurray, I love to tell this story. Dr. McMurray stalked me to run for this board. And I kept asking him, why do you want me to run? He said, because you just get things done. And I don't know what that means, but whatever it means, it means. So I let him convince me that I would do it, and so we did it. I did it. And I got elected. So it's the proverbial dog, the barking dog that chased the car, and he caught it. Now what are you going to do with it? So here I am.
Gets his brains beat in for half a mile down the road.
Exactly. It's hard to believe it's been 4 years.
Sure.
But we hit the ground running, and I don't like looking in the rearview mirror. I like looking out the windshield, and whatever's needs to be done, let's just get it done and move on. And we've done so much in 4 years. I mean, we've really moved mountains. But the significance, in my opinion, of this year's election and the election to follow in 2028 The agreement that currently is in place with Christus to run this hospital in Jasper, Texas, that was implemented in 2011, 10-year agreement with 2 5-year renewals. We are on the second 5-year renewal.
Okay.
That is set to expire in April of 2030. Why is this election important? Because these 4 people that get elected this year, along with the 5 that get elected in 2028, will be the 9 directors that decide the future of this hospital. Does this hospital stay with Christus? Does this hospital look to partner with a different healthcare organization, or do they take the hospital back and run it themselves? That's the dilemma that they'll be faced. That will be decided in the next 4 years. That's why this is an important election. I think that's part of the reason why 10 people have signed up, because they see the importance. This hospital does a really good job, but they have lost services over the years, and there's reasons why they've lost services, and it's their story to tell, not mine. But contractually, we can't be involved in the running of this hospital. The agreement that was signed in 2011, which was way before anybody that's currently on this board was on this board, by our predecessors. They signed it, they had their reasons for signing it, and we're bound to it until April of 2030. And it gives Christus a free right and a free reign to run the hospital as they see fit. And that's where we're at. So they do a good job, in my opinion. They've gotten better in the last couple of years. They've gotten some new administrators in there. Miss Good was there, breath of fresh air. She moved on up at Christus, and now Sherry Willard's there, another breath of fresh air. She's doing a great job. Ironically, she's also running for the board, but she's brought a new life into that, and it makes me happy to see that. So they're doing really good right now.
Does it seem like let's look at it like this, or let's approach it like this. When you say you guys have moved mountains in the past 4 years, put that into a little bit of context for people who have no clue what the hospital board does.
The board is directed by statute to provide for the healthcare needs of the district. Okay. That's our job. Again, back in 1997, up until 1997, the board ran this hospital. In 1997, they contracted out with the Sisters of Charity, part of the Catholic Church, to take over this hospital. They did, and they ran it for years. You've heard the expression, well, the nuns were running the hospital. That's literally who was running it under the Sisters of Charity. That organization merged, and it became Christus Health.
Okay.
So it's more of a corporate structure now.
Gotcha.
And but it's still the same mission.
Yeah.
The healing ministry of Jesus Christ.
Right.
It's still the same mission. That agreement really gave them free reign to do as they please. So what does that leave the hospital district board to do?
Right.
Dr. McMurray recruited me to run for this because he said we're not meeting the healthcare needs of the district. And I didn't necessarily ever understand what that meant. It's not what I do. It's not what I've ever done. So it took a little bit of a learning process. So what does that mean? In the last 4 years, we've opened 2 primary care clinics. Primary care is the root of healthcare in any community. If you don't have primary care, you don't have anything else. You've got to start with the basics. What is primary care? It's just simply taking care of the body on a daily basis for whatever ails you. And then you get referred out to specialists from there and so forth and so on. Jasper, I grew up here, born here, raised here, grew up here. We used to have doctors on every corner. We don't have that anymore. Doctors are leaving. When they die or when they retire in Jasper, they're not being replaced.
Sure.
So we've lost those primary care physicians over the years. They've just went away and they're not being replaced. So getting that primary care back to Jasper has been a priority of this board, and we've done it by opening our own clinics. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that we would be employing 15 people 4 years after I took office on this board.
I got you.
That wasn't the intent, by the way.
Sure.
But it come down to a situation, well, if you're going to do it, you just need to shut up and do it yourself. And so that's what we did. We just did it ourselves. And it works. And I think we've got some great providers. Those providers care about this community. They're doing an amazing job. I know new patient-wise, they're booked out for months. So now we need more providers.
Sure.
Build it and they will come, right?
Yep.
And so we're searching for more providers now.
I think there's a misunderstanding as to how many people are actually in this area. I think the idea that Jasper is dying is a little bit of a misunderstanding of what's happening demographically to Jasper. It seems like, where the census numbers are looking like it's weakening.
Right.
I think there's a lot more people moving in peripherally and not necessarily bedding up in Jasper proper.
So
is that accurate? I mean,
that's accurate. So on the emergency response side of what I do,
sure,
pretty familiar with the 911 stuff and how all that works. Our addressing agency is the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission. They handle 911 addressing for this county.
Okay.
The fastest growing areas of Jasper County are Rayburn and Buna, and they're fairly equitable.
Yeah.
That's the new addresses that are being issued. Kirbyville, Jasper, the city proper.
New addresses.
New addresses.
Never had addresses before.
Correct.
Yeah.
That are being added to the rolls.
Yeah.
Those are the two fastest growing areas of the county. We're talking about 90%.
Sure.
90% of the growth in this county is in those two areas.
Yeah.
So why Buna and why Rayburn? Well, Rayburn's self-explanatory, the lake.
Sure.
Recreation, retirement, et cetera, et cetera. Buna, because they're getting out of Orange County. They're getting out of Jefferson County. They're getting away from having to have windstorm insurance. They're getting away from having to have flood insurance.
Right.
These disasters we've had have wiped them out down there. So what are they doing? They're moving as far north as they can. This goes for southern Newton County too.
Yeah.
Deweyville's
popping.
Yeah. Now Deweyville floods at the drop of a hat.
Sure.
But there's areas that don't flood.
Right.
But there's people that are migrating away. This county is so unique. From the south end at Evadale, you're talking about 20 feet of elevation. To the north end, you're talking about almost 600 feet of elevation.
Yeah.
It's all uphill from here.
Yeah.
It's amazing because you can migrate just that short distance to Buna and say it's 100 feet of elevation. And you get away from having to have a windstorm. You get away from having to have flood insurance. The county's growing. The city may not be growing, but the county is growing.
Yeah. I think if you really look at it, it seems like Rayburn continues to be this, nobody, for the longest, everybody talked about this area being a retirement community.
It's not that anymore.
It's not that anymore.
No.
It's more of a tourist. It's more of a weekender tourist vibe.
So I would challenge anybody to just make a ride through the residential streets of Rayburn Country on a Wednesday afternoon at 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked at how many kids are riding their bike down the road.
Yeah.
And how many families you see out milling around. They're full-time residents.
Oh, are they?
They're moving up there. And you know why? A friend of mine explained this to me years ago, and it never made sense to me, but it does now. When we were kids, going to Houston was a big deal, right?
Sure.
But you jump in your truck and run down there and back in the same day now and don't think twice about it and go work the other half of the day.
That's exactly right.
Because the road systems have gotten so good
Sure.
that commuting is no longer a big deal.
If they could work out a bypass around Lumberton, I think we'd be all right.
Well, they'll get to it. They'll add that another construction project that might or might not be finished before the Danby Bridge gets finished.
I've been impressed with the Danby Bridge there. I mean, I drove through there the other night and I was sitting there going, man, these guys are making some headway. So
They are.
I think the trick is you just don't look at it every week. It's kind of like when you're trying to lose weight, just don't look at yourself in the mirror too often.
Exactly.
And then come back and look at yourself and you'll be shocked, So going back to what you're talking about with first responder, and I know you're heavily involved with Beech Grove and what all is going on the EMS side. So tell me kind of what you're seeing. What are some of the things that's currently going on, and what are some of the things that people can look forward to with the services here in the area?
So let me start by saying this. So we talked about growth in the town, right? Mm-hmm. Lufkin is a great example. Let me finish that part of it first. So Lufkin is a great example. Lufkin was king of the timber industry, just like Jasper has been for many years.
Sure.
Lufkin lost Temple. They lost International Paper. They lost Lufkin Industries. They lost a lot over there in Lufkin. You know what they replaced it with? Healthcare. That's around 38% of their total economy in the city of Lufkin now.
Wow.
It drives a lot in the city. We're trying to mimic that on a smaller scale in Jasper. So if we can get there, and we're working on it, we're working toward that goal. If we can get healthcare here, healthcare is guaranteed jobs for years to come. People are always going to need doctors, right? Period.
Sure.
So to talk about the other services, in 2022, we engaged in an EMS contract. Shame on me. I'm just as responsible as anybody else has. I was a fire chief in Jasper for 12 years. I was in the fire department here for 22. I worked at the PD for 10. I was a detective here.
Yeah.
I was just as involved and just as responsible for not having reliable EMS service as anybody else was. But it had reached a point to me that it had gotten ridiculous. It just, when you're out on the side of the road for a wreck and you got 3 injured people and you're being told the nearest ambulance is an hour away, that's just irresponsible.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's a broken system. And Jasper County they could make the decision to fix it, but they had decided as a commissioner's court years ago that they were going to defer that decision to the ESDs. The entire county from one end to the other is covered with ESDs. There's not an area of Jasper County that's not covered by an ESD today. So they had deferred that to the ESDs, and the ESDs had just failed to take action, plain and simple. I moved away from here for a few years for job-related reasons, and it really opened my eyes to what's going on out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Jasper, Texas, there's a lot going on. Outside of this region, there's a lot going on. Sure. And you know what that area outside of this area thinks about this area? They don't care. They don't even know where it is.
Yeah.
They're not worried about us. And it opened my eyes to, it made me realize there's a whole world going on out there. And if we're going to change what we do here, we're going to have to do this ourselves. Nobody's coming. Nobody's riding in on a white horse.
Nobody's coming to save us.
They're not coming to save us. If you don't like your environment, change it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been my mindset ever since. Let's get it fixed. So EMS is one of the first things we tackled. And we did it jointly between the city of Jasper and ESD4. And we said, we've got to end the stupidity here. We've got to get reliable EMS service. It's hard to fix a broken healthcare system if you can't even get people to the healthcare system. EMS is part of that healthcare system. So we went through a process, and we were cautioned that it could cost up to millions and millions of dollars a year to do this. But we had a good group approach, a good committee approach. We challenged it. We took it on. We found a provider that worked. We're getting that service free. In other words, there's no subsidies being paid to this provider. This provider is completely and totally self-sufficient.
Okay.
And they're able to do that because there is a hospital within our territory. And there's transfers that occur out of that hospital, and that's where they
get paid.
Offset what they lose from 911. So that's a 5-year deal. We're 3.5 years into that agreement. You've not heard any stories in the last 3.5 years about ambulances not coming to wrecks anymore. 911 calls going unanswered, people dying because there wasn't an ambulance available. That came to a screeching halt. So that's progress. Next thing we did is we said, you know what? Urgent care, people who are in terrible situations, high acuity, sometimes they need to be flown to a higher level of care where they can get the proper care that they need. Typically that would be Beaumont, maybe even Houston. We had a helicopter here. It was only here for 12 hours a day. They work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Well, tragedy doesn't happen on a time clock.
That's true.
So we need it here 24 hours a day. So we got with that company, Air Rescue. We agreed to build them a facility to where they could have a place to sleep, where they had bedrooms, because they didn't have bedrooms where they were. And then they would agree to put a helicopter here 24 hours a day. So they did. We built it and they did it. So now that's 24 hours a day. The EMS company, our provider on the EMS side, they came in and said, hey, we want to put a helicopter in Jasper County because we want to also service the county, and we believe there's enough call volume for 2 helicopters to coexist. So they did. They put one right smack dab in the middle of Kirbyville, middle of Jasper County in Kirbyville. So we now have 2 medical helicopters, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's unheard of for a county this size. Doesn't happen.
It really is, because I mean, you know, I mean, there's really no reason. I mean, when you start looking at, you know, the way the roads lay out and stuff like that. I mean, there's situations like over in Newton County. There's situations up there toward
Yes.
the lake where it's a nightmare. I mean, good luck driving over 50, you know, 55.
Absolutely.
Trying to get up 87 over there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Curvy.
And so, I mean, so having that accessibility for the region is super helpful.
I think we're probably in as good a shape here. And when I say here, I mean the region.
Sure.
The hospital service region goes obviously into northern Newton County, part of Tyler County, part of Sabine County, part of St. Augustine County.
Yeah.
It's a broad area. The hospital's service region, about 50,000 in population, give or take a little.
Yeah.
I think the health care that's being provided within that region now is probably better than it's ever been before, both emergency health care and long-term health care. Now, do we have the specialists here? Are we doing all these surgeries that you get in Beaumont and Luff? No, we're not there yet. We're not there, and that's going to take time. But our goal from a hospital district perspective is to provide as much health care as we feasibly can in this community, starting with primary care, working into the specialties. And that's going to be a multi-year plan that's going to take a long time to develop and mature and grow and establish.
Well,
we're heading in that direction.
Yeah, supply and demand is going to push that, because it's just like the helicopters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you had one for 12 hours a day, then you went to 24, and then somebody else came in and said, "Hey, we think we can help in this process," and there's a call volume there. So I mean, as this thing continues to grow, because I don't see, you know, where a lot of naysayers will sit here and say that Jasper's dying. You know, I mean, if we're judging the growth or the life and health of Jasper off of Jasper proper, man, you don't have to go far outside of the city limits to really start seeing a lot of addresses.
So what should that be telling the people inside the city? What are we doing wrong?
Yeah, what are we doing wrong? And
I would argue that maybe they're not doing anything wrong. Maybe it's a mindset. I don't know. I don't have all the answers.
maybe.
I had a guy tell me last night that common sense don't grow in everybody's garden. I had to think about that a minute, but I get it now.
Yeah, 100%.
I get it now.
Yeah, you go back to the old Benjamin Franklin quote of, you know, there's nothing so uncommon than common sense.
Yeah, and so
I mean, but you do have to start looking at, and this is not to get down on any of the leadership in Jasper, the city of Jasper, but you really do have to start looking if people are going elsewhere, and just far enough elsewhere. It's one thing if you go down here and you like to shop at Target versus Walmart. It's another thing if you like to drink coffee from Dunkin' Donuts versus Starbucks. It's a whole different conversation whenever you have people who will not move into a city, they move right outside the city.
yeah,
You know,
there's a reason.
You really have to start looking at what you're producing.
The city's got a lot of positives. I mean, look at the park system that the city's established. Look at their.
Second to none.
A lot of folks don't want to talk about this, but their electric utility rates, they're considerably cheaper than Jasper Newton Electric Co-op right now.
No doubt.
And so there's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of positives.
There are.
But there's some negatives too.
Agreed.
And those negatives need to be addressed. So I've already said it once and I'm going to say it again. If you want change, then be the change. It's that simple. If you don't like the environment that you're living in, then change the environment.
Sure.
Or change your address. What have a lot of people chose to do?
Change the address.
Change the address.
Yep. Even if it's a new one. So what else can we talk about? What else you want to put out here for the people?
Well, back on the hospital district stuff a little bit. When I said moving mountains, you know, one of the big albatrosses that I just couldn't get over was that old Dickerson Hospital. I mean, that
Looks like you got over it.
they had spent a ton of money on that thing, buying it, a ton of money upkeeping it, and the building was literally falling down around them.
Sure.
And the layout is very specific to the to that type of provider, hospital provider, nursing home provider, the winged concept. So the opportunities were very limited in use. What were you going to do with it? So we agreed to finally just tear it down, just eat it, move on.
Right.
We'll have some pretty grass growing there one day, and that's
Yeah.
what's growing there now.
Right.
That is the largest tract of commercially available property that close to the Highway 190-96 intersection that's left. We haven't done anything with it. We keep thinking the right opportunity might come along. We're not in the commercial retail development business. That's not what the hospital district's here for.
Right.
We just happen to own that tract, and we want it to be developed in a manner that benefits Jasper, that brings tax revenue to Jasper, not with boat storages. And I'm speaking personally when I say this. I don't want any, there's plenty of places to build boat storages. We don't need them right in the middle of town.
No.
We need retail. We need an HEB there.
Okay.
That would be great to have there. Or Brookshire Brothers, a new store, whatever. And we've tried.
Yeah.
We've put the feelers out so they know that it's there and it's available. So far, no takers. Some people ask me about a Chick-fil-A, when you're going to build a Chick-fil-A there. Well, trust me, if I could get a Chick-fil-A here, I would probably have a really great cardiologist by my side, because I'd be eating that fried chicken every day. But, they're looking for certain things before they come to areas.
Sure.
And right now,
Traffic's one of them.
yeah, we're not at that threshold yet. So we got to grow. We've got so much opportunity here. And I think the healthcare opportunity is probably our greatest opportunity. It's good wages, it's secure, it grows.
Sure.
And I think that is our greatest opportunity here right now is healthcare. So we're developing some land over by the hospital. You may have seen a couple of new buildings go up. One's a clinic for a dermatologist, the other one's a clinic for a pain management doctor. So we're starting to get interest in those specialties.
Okay.
I had some conversations this morning with a podiatrist. They have an interest in being here. So we're getting there. But
Little by little.
it just takes a little longer than I expected. I'm a little more impatient.
And that's the reason you get things done.
Well, in the
I mean,
911
honestly.
when the 911 world, your job is to go do, right?
That's right.
And not talk about it, shut up and do it.
Yeah, and as it goes back to the fire departments and stuff like that, go put the fire out, and then we'll have a sit down and talk.
I saw the greatest video I've ever seen the other day that explained that made me look at it from a whole different perspective. And the guy made a very good, quick, valid point. When you're calling for help, you don't care who's coming.
Yeah.
You don't care what color fire truck they drive.
Nope.
You don't care if they're paid or volunteer. You don't care. Here's what you care about. Can they do the job when they get here? That's all that matters.
Help is not discretionary.
No. And when you're the one that's in need of help,
Yeah.
just come here and help me.
Exactly.
So we just need to get stuff done. We need to quit arguing and bickering and fussing at each other and fighting all the time. We just need to shut up and go to work.
I heard a guy say just the other day, he made a statement. He said, we didn't have all of these. He said, when we were kids, and he was an older gentleman, he said, when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of the syndromes that they have now for kids. Mm-hmm. He said, because we were too busy bowed up in a garden with our daddy cracking the whip on us, keeping us working.
There's a many old saying about hard work. And we lack a little bit of that around here right now.
When you can sit around and you can wonder, just how depressed you really are, you probably need to go put your hand on something and go to work.
That's exactly right. There's always a job to be done.
No doubt. And I'm not saying anything about people who fight depression, deal with depression. I've dealt with it myself. At the same time, I've noticed there's periods of my life where that showed up when I was more sedentary. That's
when you're busy, when you stay busy,
Yeah.
you're less likely to be focused on all the issues in your life.
I think that's almost biblical in a
is.
way, because I think when your gearing is to help the community that you live in, to better the community that you live in, instead of just being a taker, I think that changes. I think it changes how I feel. I think it changes how everybody feels.
My goal in life is to leave this world better than I found it. And along the way, it's going to make some people mad, and I get that, and that's okay.
Sure.
I don't hate them.
Yeah,
They may hate me, but I don't hate them.
no doubt.
I'm just here to make things better. I just want to make it better. And if I can leave this world knowing that I left it better than I found it, I'm satisfied. If I can leave this region knowing that I left it better than I found it, I'm happy with that. I just want to get the job done. I don't care about any of the other peripheral stuff that goes with it. I just want to get the job done. And that's all I want to do. Just get the job done and move on. Let's go to the next project.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Jamie Gunter, I appreciate you coming and sitting down.
You bet. Thank you.
Good luck to you in your endeavor to secure the seat again with the hospital district. So.
Me and 9 of my best friends. We'll see. We'll see how it works out.
That's exactly right. Thank you, man.
You bet.